And today we are going to start, and we will hand over to Nadia to open and to guide the whole session. And Dr. Subodh Mathur will also support Nadia during the event. Thank you. And Nadia, please.
Thank you, Bu Eva. So, can everyone hear me clearly?
Yes.
Okay.
Everything is clear.
Good.
So, good morning, everyone. I hope everyone have a good day today. So, dear ladies and gentlemen, thank you for participating in the webinar event today, and we are pleased to have you to discuss regarding improving clean energy to increase electricity access. For this purpose, you may have been informed that we are planning and having discussion regarding improving clean energy to increase electricity access in rural areas. In the event when the people need modern technology, solar photovoltaic technology seem advanced for the villager as the source of electricity. However, depending on the areas, solar photovoltaic can be in the form of solar home system, solar PV arrays, which can be connected on grid with PLN, or solar PV hybrids with other renewable energy technology, which commonly found in the rural areas, such as microhydro and genset with the fossil fuel. In related to this, LED lightnings can also electrify the rural areas as the first step to have modern electricity to replace kerosene oil. Having this modern technology as the source of electricity will improve rural condition and having clean energy, which healthier as well as increase rural economy productivity. Today's discussion, we are honored in having the speech and presentation from Bapak Dr. Ahmad Agus Setiawan, energy expert, staff in the Executive Office of the President of the Republic of Indonesia, to deliver the keynote speech. He has achieved many awards throughout his career, like Energy Globe Award 2012 from an Austrian foundation, as well as Energy Globe Ambassador in 2013. He also achieved Habibie Award 2014 in engineering. Bapak Ahmad will inform the government policy in regards to the renewable energy target in the energy mix policy. The following speaker is from Engie Indonesia, Mr. Kanaka Arif Chandawinoto. Mr. Kanaka has 14 years experience developing and managing power generation projects and studies all over Indonesia, including power plant construction for Aceh tsunami after tsunami Aceh in 2004. ENGIE is the French-based energy company which has manufactured solar photovoltaic technology as the source of electricity. ENGIE has implemented several solar PV projects in various countries and has well operation in Indonesia. Bapak Kanaka Arif Chandawinoto will present the ENGIE's company profile, which implements solar PV technology as the source of electricity. And for the guest speaker today is from Avito Solar Design, Mr. Mark Hankins. He is a CEO and director of rural electrification, mostly in African regions. He has worked in East and Southern Africa for over 20 years. He also participates in several renewable projects for several well-known private sectors and NGOs. He will present the article regarding why solar PV system in the humanitarian sector fail and what players can do to better manage them. We will give you the chance to have live conversation directly with the speakers, and you may write the question in the column question and answer so we can have it at least preparation to respond it. At the end of the discussion, we have lively discussion and you may raise your hand and give your opinion regarding the comments which is being discussed and get respond immediately. We also apologize if some of your questions might not be a response in satisfaction manners due to our limitation. Nevertheless, we will connect you with the right source which may relate it to your case. We sincerely hope that you keep the interest in having solar photovoltaic and LED lightning as the source of electricity in rural areas to increase the electrification ratio as well the electricity access. Without further ado, we give the floor to Bapak Dr. Ahmad Agus Setiawan to deliver keynote speech. Okay,
Thank you.
Bapak Agus.
Okay, thank you, Nadia. May I have access for putting my presentation, please?
Okay.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Pak Subot Matur, Bu Eva, Nadia, Pak Kanaka, Mark, all speakers, energy community gathering enthusiasts everywhere in Indonesia or all over the world. Today, I would like to present renewable energy for sustainable development in Indonesia. As I know that this community has, a spirit of bringing the, light to the world, especially to the rural and remote areas. So I would like to just mention that by Nadia, I'm a lecturer at Universitas Gadjah Mada, Department of Nuclear and Engineering Physics, Faculty of Engineering. And then since this year, 2020, I'm serving as energy expert staff at the Executive Office of the President of Republic of Indonesia. So I would like to bring the issues on SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. So as we know that these issues is very important for us, that's why this community also working tirelessly. These commitments on sustainable development is from Rio Plus 20 and beyond, and covering many aspects. But I would like to bring this some samples on this, such as sustainable transport, corporate responsibility, and what we are talking now is about sustainable energy and also education, because of I'm coming from the university as well. In 1987, UN released the Brundtland Report talking about sustainable development, which is development that meets the needs of present without compromising ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So we are talking about our future generations, not only 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, but maybe no limit there. So we talk about sustainable energy for all. In 2012, the Secretary General of United Nations at that time, Ban Ki-moon, bringing these issues. One is ensuring universal access to modern energy services, doubling the global rate of improvement in energy efficiency, and also doubling the share of renewable energy in global energy mix. And we know that sustainable energy is that accessible, cleaner, and more efficient powers opportunity. And according to the IEA, International Energy Agency, they released a World Energy Outlook 2020, and we see in here, in that report also mentioned that the solar is the king now. Solar, sun is the king, powering the world. Now we can see in here how it raised exponentially, and during this 2020 COVID pandemic, some others getting grabbing trouble and decline, especially the coal, and then others still increasing, but the sharp increase is in wind and solar, especially the solar as the king of power now. How about Indonesia? We have Indonesia Energy Condition. Previously, we were the member of Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. But since 2004, the production is declining, while the needs is increasing. Yeah, so the demand is increasing while production is decreasing. So it makes us Indonesia as importing net importing countries now in terms of petroleum. So the thing is that we have to move to NRE, new and renewable energy contribution needs to be increased in energy sustainability of Indonesia. Not to mention about sustainable development itself, yeah. And this is the national energy planning according to this national energy agency for Indonesia. We talk about 2025, which is less than 5 years now. We want to have new and renewable energy for 23% in the energy mix. Yeah, and then in 2050, we would like to have it in 31%. What is the target and realization on new and renewable energy? Currently, everyone work very hard, especially the Ministry of Energy and also the National Energy Power Company, as well as the Petroleum Company of Indonesia, Pertamina, which is both of them now bringing new and renewable energy becoming a very important division now. So both PLN as well as Pertamina now they have their own new and renewable energy division. We would like to bring this in 2024 and 25 as 23%, and we are here, yeah, and we have to work very hard to raise and to reach the target. And what about the potential installed capacity? We got plenty of blessing from the God that total potential is about 400 gigawatts, while the utilization is very small still. So 0.4 gigawatt is only 2.5%, especially from the hydro and geothermal. Yeah. And then we have a bioenergy, 5.8% utilized. Hydro, quite big, it's about 6,000. Geothermal is about 2,000. Yeah. And then wind, recently we got 2 wind parks, big wind parks in South Sulawesi. One is Sidrap, one is Jeneponto. And solar, we still have plenty room to improve. This is the geothermal installed capacity in Indonesia. In 2019, we are in second rank for the installed capacity. Previously, we were under the Philippines, and Pertamina and other company working very hard, so that in 2019 Indonesia has second place for the installed capacity. The other challenge for Indonesia is about the Indonesia archipelagic geographical condition, which is archipelagic. We have 17,000 islands, and throughout those Indonesia, we would like to have Indonesia electrification ratio by 100% in terms of villages. So this is really extraordinary works to cover. We mentioned about the big islands, yes, but the smallest island on either outer islands, and maybe you don't even know about what is the island is. So some project that we can bring to this during my university lecturing process. We have what is community services, student community services. This project brought during my study in PhD in Curtin University. We were winning such a Mondialogo Engineering Award in 2007, supported by UNESCO and Daimler, and then we worked together with the student from UGM, and then for the implementation, we bring the Ministry of Public Works. So we utilize the photovoltaic panels for pumping water in rural karst area. And then this is the way we approach the system. We have social preparation activities. We have students deployed for 2 months in one period, while we have more than 5 years period of student community services. So this is the system installation activities. So previously socialization, which is engagement with the local community, and then the system installation where students and also the local community working together, discussing, and then installing. So the initiative model for this can be implemented, and also learning lesson learned from this one. One is the survey, second is design and planning, and then socialization and technical and organization is very important, especially for the financing things and so on and so forth. And then system installations, and then we talk about the sustainability issues, including the maintenance process as well as others issues. Yeah. And then this some crucial issues that we can raise. Local community involvement is very important. Community empowerment is very important. Support for technical and economy and social issues. And then capacity building, especially the organization, and then network support model from R&D institution, universities, local, national government for sustainability issues. And the other thing is that about the islands, 1,000 islands that we need to electrify. This one of technology that I bring in my PhD was about microgrid, mini grid hybrid power system. And we call it for Indonesia Future Islands. This AC coupling, parallel hybrid, as well as series hybrid power system will be utilized, especially the AC coupling. I proposed the mini grid microgrid system for this kind of things. So in 2010, the Ministry of Ristek, Research and Technology at that time, collaborate with Universitas Gadjah Mada, develop such a prototype for the hybrid power system in nearby my campus in UGM in Bantul. And then we bring this technology as well, spread over, disseminate to other location, and we choose one of them is the Marampit Island, which is a very remote rural areas, islands. It is, the borderline between Indonesia and Philippines. It's very small. People, living in this area and the area. So dispersed, and we can see here how the challenge, how to bring the technology for electrification. And then others is about the solar power system for disaster response and reconstruction. We got plenty of natural disaster, especially the volcanoes eruption, and then the earthquake. So at that time, there was earthquake in Padang. Yeah, we deployed some students as well with the university lecturer going to the locations, bringing the the appropriate technology. One of them is the solar lighting. Yeah, because usually after the disasters, everything is cut off, no electricity. Yeah, so very dark during the night and so on and so forth. So this one is the way we coming to the locations, and also doing the test experiment as well. This is also brought to the volcano eruption during that period in 2010, 2012. Yeah. Other issues is that bringing the solar technology into the productivity and small medium enterprises farming. Yeah, so solar powered aeration technology transfer for fish farmer is coordination and cooperation between Ministry of Ristek and also our university, Gadjah Mada University, and it brought to the UN high-level policy dialogue on technology transfer for smallholder farmer, CAPSA. So we presented these things finding. We brought the technology into the one of location in rural areas in Jogja, and then the way we bring this technology is again utilizing this model, socialization, engagement with the farmers, and so on and so forth, with also students as the key player for, and that way student learning process also getting stronger. Yeah. And then the project experience, solar powered aeration technology to support fish farming in this program by Ministry of Research and Technology. And then solar powered aeration promoted as renewable energy. And then, the development of community to adopt, community empowerment to adopt supporting technology for improving fisheries production. And this technology adoption process involving students for assisting the local community. And then also knowledge sharing by students that's supervised by lecturers. So this way, our university engaged very much with the local community as well. Learning process as well as feedback from the local community. Also, we get it, and we can bring that into our campus, academic issues, discussion, and solving problem. So this some co-findings for Indonesia. Roadmap energy transition towards sustainable development 2045 as Indonesia get the independence by 100 years at a time. So how? What will we will do for Indonesia? Now everyone is moving towards clean, renewable energy, energy transition, and so on and so forth. Everyone talking about bringing less emission, CO2 emission. What shall we do? US has renewable energy future scenario by 2050, say for example, from 30 to 90%, but focusing on 80%. This report released by NREL and supported by many other research centers. While Germany already bring those issues into action, some portion energy mix of renewable energy bringing to the top of the table. Australia also doing things like Australian Renewable Energy Agency, ARENA. Singapore, the small city, a country of city, yeah, they talk about also renewable energy, and especially Singapore and Australia, they have a plan of sun cable, bringing the energy from sun that produced in northern Australian territory and then brought by cable into Singapore. That's and go through Indonesia. And India, they have this Ministry of New and Renewable Energy with so many program on solar cities, while China is they really enjoy the industrial PV industry booming. Indonesia, we have to move, we have to go for energy transition, utilizing sustainable energy for ensuring sustainable development supported by strong research and development with strategic industries and also human resource development program. I would like to conclude my presentation. Thank you very much and return it to Nadia. Thank you. Thank you, Nadia.
Thank you, Bapak, for your presentation. It was actually a really good project where the university get involved directly to the field to develop their skill set as well as to involve helping the community. So for now, we are now having Bapak Kanaka Arif Chandawinoto from ENGIE Indonesia to deliver the presentation in 20 minutes regarding ENGIE's company Proval, which implements solar PV technology as the source of electricity in rural areas. Bapak Kanaka, are you ready, Pak?
Yes, thank you, Nadia. Thank you also, Ahmad, for opening. It's a very wonderful presentation regarding the roadmap for Indonesia energy transition. Excellent. Okay, can I share the screen or it will be shared by the host?
You can share from your laptop, or I can also share the laptop.
Okay, let me share.
Okay, so from you, okay.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
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 Okay. Let me start then. Okay. Thank you for having me here. Thank you also for Dr. Subodh, Bu Eva, Pak Ahmad, Nadia, and all participants. Let me introduce myself. My name is Kanaka. I'm a senior business developer for ENGIE, and I've been in the energy sector in Indonesia for 15 years. but the past 12 years I've been focusing in renewable energy. And before I joined ENGIE, I was with UPC and I built the first wind farm for Indonesia actually. So let me start this presentation with a story actually. So in 2015, before we were ENGIE, we were called GDF Suez actually. Gas de France. GDF Suez actually is the one who creates the Suez Canal in Africa. We are also the one who, concept and the lead contractor in 1960 for the Cimanuk Basin, which is the Jatiluhur, Cirata, Saguling hydropower plant actually. So in 2015, we make a radical change actually. So we decided to bet our future in renewables actually, in energy transition. Because of what? It is very simple. The world have been carried away by a model that does not take a social and environmental performance into account actually, which actually very harmful to the planet and everything. It was by our ex-CEO Isabel Co-Chair, we drive this commitment actually. So since 2015, GDF Suez rebranded as ENGIE, and we have been selling our coal, fossil fuel assets all over the world, and also gas exploration actually. In 2016, we sold Python. We were the biggest shareholders of Python, one of the biggest coal-fired power plant in the world, just to as a commitment as to focus on renewable energy actually. So our concept is based on this triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit, which is devised by John Elkington in 1994. And I think it is the most relevant time to implement it actually with the COVID and everything. We need to build a better future. So ENGIE cannot invest in a project that is harmful to the people. We cannot invest if it's harmful for the planet. And in the end, social and ecological performance is as much as important as traditional financial performance. And this is the core of our strategy of energy transition. So we are a French-based energy transition company. We have around 170,000 people all over the world. We exist in 70 countries all over the world. Our revenue is around 60 billion euro, 60 billion euro yearly, and most of our assets is like this. This is the composition of our assets. We only do natural gas, but we can only do natural gas if there is in an environment where coal is the main power base actually. If not, then we cannot invest in gas machine turbine actually. 27% of our asset is renewable, and we have a target of adding 4 gigawatt each year of renewable. 7% of coal, and we are shutting this down, including several months ago, we closed one of the biggest coal-fired power plant in Australia actually. So since 2012 and 2018, we have reduced our carbon emission by 56%. And one of the most interesting actually that resembled the energy, it is at first it was started as like a movement by the ENGIE employee actually, but it becomes big, and we invest in access to energy for up to today is around $166 million. So how we drive this energy transition into the world actually by 3D actually. This is how we do it: by decarbonizing, by digitalizing, and decentralizing. I think this is the 3 key to make the energy transition is possible all over the world. And how we do that? By accelerating our focus in renewables, by strengthening our investment in networks, and also refocusing in in client services actually. We just signed a deal actually yesterday with Amazon. So Amazon choose us as their energy provider actually. It is one of the biggest in the world for 650 megawatt of contract actually. So this is our activities in Indonesia. So we have 2 geothermal. One is already operating in Muara Laboh, 85 megawatt, and currently is on expansion process. The second one is on construction, Rantau Dadap. These 2 we invest around 1.3 billion US dollar. The development started in 2009, and the first one, Muara Labu, COD December last year, 2019. And this is our project pipeline. We have around 3 gigawatt of pipeline, which represent 4 to 5 billion investment in Indonesia. We believe we can we can materialize this pipeline within 5 to 8 years actually. So we are looking forward from the government, from the community, to guide us actually to push energy transition in Indonesia. So the topic of this webinar hosted by it is the access to energy actually. So let me start with access to energy. We have some pipeline in Indonesia actually for access to energy, but we haven't materialized anything yet. So I'm taking projects from Africa where we focus our access to energy in there. This is the data from World Bank, but it is not the most up to date. I think it was 2016 or 17, which basically shows that access of energy is a crucial issue actually, not only in Africa, but also in Southeast Asia, where 46% most of the people doesn't have access to energy. And what is access to energy by ENGIE definition actually? A binary definition of have or not have access is not enough. What we need is actually affordable, sustainable, safe, reliable energy services actually. So this is the energy service for energy access that ENGIE envision could be implemented in Indonesia actually, taking example from Africa, what we have done in there. So it is started, like I previously said, it was started by Energy Assistant. This is a non-profit organization supported by ENGIE in 2001. The objective is offer the skill and expertise of its member with the help of technical support to develop humanitarian projects serving communities worldwide with very limited access to energy. And then in 2011, we create an NGO within ENGIE itself called Resembler de Energie, which actually that at the 2015, we have invested in 17 social enterprise and on 4 continents actually. This is focused on corporate impact investment fund by ENGIE actually. So the customer will be of rural population, energy poor household. And this again has evolved into this actually. In 2018, ENGIE focused on access to energy strategy. And we acquisition Phoenix International in Africa, Mobisol, and mini-grid provider ENGIE Power Corner to form ENGIE Energy Access actually. This is an ENGIE Energy Access that we are trying to bring to Indonesia for remote island, for rural community in Papua. We have been trying to do that, and but up to today we have facing big challenges, and we are hoping that with this discussion we can force this one forward. So this is from Africa also with ENGIE Energy Access. They are the leading of grid and pay as you go with Orange Mobile actually in Africa actually. And we offer a diverse range of affordable solar home system and mini grid, which I going to explain in the next slide. This is the current data of ENGIE Energy Access. Up to today, we have 1 million customers and almost 5 million lives impacted by us. We exist in 9 countries in Africa, and we are hoping by 2025 we will have 4 million customers. Okay, this is our business model. It will be divided into 2. One is solar home system and one is mini grid. Where the solar home system is actually that pay as you go, and mini grid is basically a micro grid actually. So this is the differences. So using Phoenix, the customer can pay like a prepaid. So basically you need to have the kit, you need to put a deposit, and then you make the payment via mobile money actually. After they receive payment, you will get the power system unlocked based on your payment actually. The other one is Mobisol customer journey, which basically is the same, but you need to pick up the what you call the tools at Mobisol office actually, and the range is between 10 watt into 200 watt. The payment could be as low as 14 cents per day actually. This is plug and play. It's super easy, plug and play. We can install it within 1 hour. Okay, so this is the mini grid, the microgrid. Basically, it's a power corner. We provide with the energy and we provide with the battery system actually. And this mini grid is acts around development of income generating activities, small industries or restaurant, barber shop, and uses this as a key enabler for economic growth. Actually, this is where NG put the people, the 3PP in our action actually. In my opinion, mini grid is the union of technology and services, and also what do you call the people and that we are envisioning actually. And I think this could easily to be implemented all over Indonesia if the regulation is allowing actually. This is already proven, scalable, and it's module, so it's super easy to install. So I think that's all actually about my presentation. I would like to show you what do you call. If you need to know more, you can go into our website. You can go into our YouTube or LinkedIn, and you can contact me directly if there are any questions. Feel free. Thank you for the time, and yeah, with this I end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Bapak Kanaka, for the presentation regarding the NG's company profiles and projects. Now is the time for question and answer. We will respond your question, which addressed to Bapak Ahmad and also Bapak Kanaka. And if you want to ask question, you can also write it in the box. If you would like to talk interactively with the speakers, it's also possible. However, please talk briefly and right to the point. And yeah, anyone want to have questions? Is there anyone who wants to ask to Bapak Ahmad or Bapak Kanaka? If there is no question, then we will continue to the guest speaker.
Mark, that's you.
Okay, so let's continue to the guest speaker first. So in Indonesia, we have to admit many solar PV projects are in a broken condition, especially solar street lightnings, which obviously clearly in need to have revitalization. It is not only happening in Indonesia, but also in other countries as well. We are grateful to have Mr. Mark Hankins, CEO and Director of African Solar Design, to present his article regarding why solar PV system in the humanitarian sector fail and what players can do to better manage them. Mr. Hankins, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Can I share the screen?
Sure.
Yeah, it is already shared the screen. Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. I'm speaking from Nairobi, so it's quite early here. So my name is Mark Hankins. I've been working with solar for about 30 years, and my expertise is on solar electricity for off-grid situations. So unlike the solar, which we have on grid, solar off grid, which the previous speaker was speaking about, you have small and medium-sized systems. So and we in East Africa, we have probably millions of installations ranging from small to large, but most of the systems are off grid, and failure is a big problem with the system. So what I'm going to speak about is why do systems fail, and why haven't we used them in the humanitarian and relief sector so far? And so these lessons that we learn from this sector can also apply for solars in other sectors. Just for your information, right now I'm also working in Philippines remotely to design 20 remote health center power systems for remote islands in the Philippines. The UN has now mandated that it's going to shift completely. UNHCR is going to shift completely to renewable energy. So the challenge is, how do we move from the old technology, which we're used to using in the humanitarian sector, diesel and generators, to the new technologies. So greening energy use in the humanitarian sector. As you can see here, this is a solar system that our company installed in a very remote and difficult to access site in South Sudan. So why do we have so much reliance on generators? Well, generators have the extremely good points. Grid power in remote areas, as is the case in many of the remote places in the Pacific, Philippines and Indonesia, is unavailable. So, but there's a pressure to have power 24/7. You need electricity all the time. So you need a flexible system. And the other thing is, in many humanitarian offices and clinics, they have large loads. So if we're talking about air conditioning, you need a large power supply. So gensets, you can find a generator that's large enough to power a large load. Solar is up to very recently, solar was mostly used for very small loads. So generators can power very large loads, and also there's confidence in generator technologies. They're functional, and there's an infrastructure to repair generators. So up until recently, most large operations in relief, UNHCR, IOM, and their organizations that they work with, simply bought a generator and installed it. However, generators are costly. They're fuel hungry. They're dirty and wasteful, because a generator typically produces much more power than you need, and of course the CO2 emissions. And this is why the UN has committed to UNHCR has committed to shift to green power sources. But also there are fuel storage dangers. So if you're storing petrol or diesel on site, you can see the picture there. This is a hazard, and quite often you have fires because of that. And then finally, if in rural development, the communities will say, well, the UN is using generators, why are you giving us solar? So the UN up till now, and UNHCR, has been sending the wrong message by using generators. So the shift is ongoing. However, let's look at why don't they work? I'll tell you the story of the picture here. So this is a very expensive, about a 2 kilowatt solar system installed in a remote part of South Sudan, where there's relief operations going on. As you know, there's a war going on in South Sudan in some parts. So a very expensive solar system was installed. And within a month after it was installed, this system wasn't working. So people were wondering what's wrong. And it was a simple failure of a fuse that had been improperly installed. So the panels are fine, the inverter is fine, the batteries are fine, but the fuse isn't working. But no one was available on site who had the skills to fix that system inside the inverter. So the reason that we aren't that it's taking long to do the transition is, first of all, there's a poor capacity in of the solar sector. Many of the players in the solar sector are not don't have the capacity to do larger work like this project. Secondly, there's a bad experience with the technology. Many of the pilots, the early stage experiments have failed, so that gave people a bad view. I heard one of your people mention street lights. Yeah, if you buy the wrong type of street light, it will fail. Procurement approaches. So this is a big problem, and I'm going to come back to it. When governments procure things, you can procure a generator because everyone knows what a good generator is. But for this site that you can see in the picture, that site, you can't just simply procure the solar system. You have to do an energy audit and you have to design the system. And this requires more than a simple procurement officer writing a contract to supply the system. The system has to be properly designed. So procurement needs to be able to design the systems. Then a fourth reason is that solar costs are upfront. With a generator, you're paying the cost of the generator and then the fuel afterward. But with solar, you're paying for, with the cost of the system, you're paying 10 to 20 years cost of energy upfront. Prices are coming down, but still you're going to have to pay that cost upfront. And then finally, as I mentioned several times, the relief agencies, they have the confidence in generators, you know, and relief agencies, they just need the system to work. So that's the bad news. That's the bad news on why they aren't working. So let's take a little bit of a deeper dive there. Let's look at the procurement and the after service needs. So if you look at the procurement processes of agencies, usually when people are procuring things, it's a rush process. And often in the relief sector, but also in the donor sector, the donors, the people who are paying for the equipment bring conditions. So they say, I want it to be paid for by this country, and maybe that country doesn't have a solar suppliers. In the procurement office, in the UN agency, UNHCR, there's a lack of expertise in design and planning for solar system. They know how to manage a generator, but they don't know how to manage a solar system. Transparency is an issue. Sometimes systems, people who don't have the capacity to supply a solar system will claim they are able to supply the system. And then the inspection and commissioning of systems is often not complete. So if you compare a generator to a solar system will a more complex inspection and commissioning system. It has more components and more pieces to ensure that it works. So the procurement process in the agencies hasn't caught up with solar yet. And then if we look at after service, you know, solar does not need as much maintenance as a generator, but they do need maintenance. And on staff or operators, this can create a problem. So for for example, if we've designed a 3 kilowatt system for a small office, and it's supposed to power, for example, computers and a few appliances, and then someone brings a big appliance like a heater, electric heater or an electric cooker into that office. The untrained staff to operators can bring an appliance that doesn't fit the capacity of the solar system, and that can cause the system to fail. So the people who are operating and using the system need to be trained. And this is a very important part of the process, and they have to buy in. The second problem is a lack of service providers. So you can imagine in a remote site in South Sudan, but also in a remote island in Indonesia, there's a lack of service providers. So the network of people that understand the technologies has not been built up. You know, today we can run laptops, but that took the capacity to manage the technology for laptops took time and to put service people in place. So solar is not there yet in very remote places. Basic O&M tasks are not done. So operation and maintenance tasks are not completed. So maybe people don't clean the panels and they get dusty, they get covered in dust, and no one has climbed up on the roof and said, oh, what's the problem here? So the system isn't working because very basic operation and maintenance tasks are not done. And then the final one, which I would say is a very common one, is for rural offices and clinics. I'm not talking about very small systems, but let's say rural mini grids and clinics and schools and offices. The energy demand peaks. It's very easy to design a solar system for 95% of the power needs, but there will always be 5% of the time when maybe it's been cloudy, so there hasn't been enough solar for that period to meet the demand needs, or the power is much higher over a sustained period and the solar system cannot meet the need. Now, so you've covered 95% of the power needs, but during that 5% of the time, and in a humanitarian agency, you need power 24/7. But that 5% of the time, solar might fail. So in a lot of systems, you need to have a small generator backing it up. And that's why we're finding hybrid systems are a solution that's quite useful for large power systems in agencies, in clinics, schools. So you have a very small generator to meet that 5% of the time when maybe there's not enough sun, or maybe the power demand is too high. So I'll say again, solar, it's very easy to design a system for 95% of the power needs, but that 5% time when you have very high needs or when there's not enough power, you can't design for that, or it's very expensive to design for that. So in that case, it makes sense in such a situation to have a hybrid situation. But that 5% is going to cause problems. So the good news is that the tools for the transition are available. Solar energy, efficient appliances, storage, and in my work with humanitarian agencies with Norwegian Relief Commission, we're working on electric transport. So I've included that in this talk. These tools are mature. We are no longer where we were 20 years ago when we were just starting out. The technology is there. So when you discuss with people, solar is a very mature technology. Electric transport is mature. China is leading the world in the production of most of the technology. So you in Indonesia, you're nearer to the heart of solar manufacture than we are in East Africa. We have regional experience. So even if the experience isn't in the very rural villages, it is in most of the cities around the world. Business models are available. So ENGIE, we heard from ENGIE, and having a business model that can meet the needs is very important, because most agencies, speaking about the humanitarian sector, they can't afford to pay for the upfront price. The reason they go for generators is because it's much easier for them to pay the low price of a generator and then pay for the fuel, because that doesn't require an investment. And so for solar, to buy everything up front is very difficult. So if a company can offer a business model that can say, okay, well, we'll give you a plan to pay for this over 6 or 10 years, or maybe even just to lease the system, this business model is much more attractive to many players. And that is why, that's why companies like ENGIE are successful with their models. They are offering their mini grid and PAYGO systems to pay on a monthly basis instead of paying for the equipment all at once. So business models are very important, and the business models is where the big changes have occurred, and also the use of data in these business models is critical. So major investment in solar sector and company appetite. Again, 20 years ago, when some of our pioneers were trying to start solar projects in East Africa, we didn't have investment. Right now, every single one of the major companies in the world is investing in solar. So we have huge investments, and many of these small companies that are working in this, there's companies coming in and there's investment money coming in. So to say that the money is not there is no longer it's no longer a block for the development. It's no longer a barrier. The investment is there in the technology. And there is a large potential to expand solar use in NGOs and communities and the private sector. So I think if the humanitarian sector takes up solar, then it will move from that sector into communities. 80% transition today is viable and cost effective. So that's the good news. How can we shift in the transition? Well, we need to learn the lessons from the success for solar in other countries. If you look at how solar came into East Africa, I think you can learn some very good lessons from East Africa. So ENGIE, as you saw, is now learning the lessons that and actually ENGIE has invested in companies that started in East Africa. So we need to learn the lessons and learn from the experience of other countries. Relief and refugee activities can shift anchor loads. And this is happening. As I said, I'm right now involved in a project in the Philippines to shift power from generators to solar in 20 sites. So we need to find the right projects, and anchor loads are important ones. And then supply companies encouraged to assist and move beyond simply supplying relief operations, but to move into the communities and to help develop local markets. So we can use these projects. So we don't look at these projects just in isolation. We look at these projects to also work beyond the relief groups and work in the communities. So making the transition, and this is directed at the humanitarian sector. You need to have energy and sustainability management in the planning of the humanitarian agency. You have to build the delivery capacity, and that means on local and supplier level. And then you have to have investment to investment approach to sustainable energy. So we move away from looking at this as grant to a business. So sustainability and management is about it becoming part of the planning of the agency. And I think NGOs can also learn from this. So every humanitarian agency should now be thinking about sustainable energy and how to, when they pick their appliances. You know, I'll give an example. When I was doing my surveys, every single office had a water supply, kind of cold water filter that the UN bought for it, the office, and it had a heater and a refrigerator in every water supplier, and it was just a very wasteful use of energy. And so I said that this you don't need to have wasteful water supply system, because how do I explain it to you? But so the procurement people need to be looking at energy and energy management. They need to select appliances and make investments in equipment that actually uses less energy. And this isn't a big change. So the second thing is that the building the delivery capacity means that we need to work with companies regionally and locally to supply the equipment. Before we were buying generators, maybe from Jakarta. So I think, you know, we need to find the companies that are working, that can supply the renewable energy system, and that can also work in remote locations. That means building the capacity of the local the on the ground technicians and very small companies that can provide support. That's a key link. And then finally, investment approach to sustainable energy means that we aren't buying everything at once. What we're trying to do is we're transitioning to paying on a monthly basis. So we're renting the equipment. I'll move a bit deeper here. I'll go quickly. I don't want to take up too much time, but so integrating better energy management means working with the staff. So business arrangement of equipment supply, making energy a job responsibility. So someone in an office, in a humanitarian agency, has to look at the energy and see where energy waste is. Another big problem in South Sudan was air conditioners. People would leave the door open and just use air conditioners very wastefully. I'm sure you've seen that problem in Indonesia. If we're going to use air conditioners in renewable energy systems, we have to use them efficiently or not use them and switch to other methods of cooling. Better sourcing of small PV and backup systems, energy management plans in offices, better quality electric system installation, keeping energy records, replace inefficient equipment, and invest in renewable energy and energy efficiency. I see I'm coming to the end of my time. Investment approach to sustainable energy. The picture there is electric vehicles. This company is switching over to electric vehicles, and you can see this small company in Kenya is now beginning to manufacture electric vehicles. So standards, a PPA approach. So well, standards mean we need to make sure that the companies we buy from maintain high standards. A PPA approach means that you're paying on a kilowatt basis and you're not paying on for all the equipment at once. International and local cooperation. So when you do tenders, you need a strong partnership and you need to identify big companies that can do it. And then donor and community project collaboration, so that eventually the communities, this doesn't happen in the humanitarian sector, it also happens in the communities. I have to move on, but be aware of the solar PV system life cycle. You have, you need to do an audit, you need to do a design, you need to do a procurement, you need to do an installation, and then there's after service. Each of these has some equipment, expertise, and documentation. So in the humanitarian sector, we need to be aware of all of these phases, and the people who are managing the process have to be aware so that all of the boxes are ticked. I'm not going to go into this, but each of these steps has to be followed so that the system is designed and you get the right system on the site. And then finally, on the ground, you need to build local capacity. Multi-level approach to solar development. You need to include capacity building for standards and regulation. Government has to be brought in the picture and look to understand that there are standards in solar equipment just like there are for generators. Incorporate local experiences. So we need to find out. I'm sure Indonesia has many experiences in solar. Find out what they are. Involve training institutions. So solar needs to move into the vocational training institutions, and then avoid duplication. One-off projects, we are beyond doing one-off projects. We need to learn from other projects and not just seek to duplicate projects that over and over again. We need now to crowd funding into the successful efforts. So I've gone quickly, but we are getting there. And you know, 30 years ago, we didn't see this coming as fast as it is now. But actually, we have a lot of momentum. Solar prices have come down. Solar battery prices are coming down, and because for very many reasons, including the environmental and climate crisis, solar now is at the top of the agenda. So we're getting there much faster than many of us expected it right now. So thanks for your attention, and you can see my contacts there. And thanks very much for inviting me to the workshop.
Thank you, Mr. Mark Hankins. It's a really interesting presentation. So now, is there anyone want to ask a question or comment or maybe feedback?
I have 3 questions, Nadia.
Yeah, sure, Ibu.
Okay. So any speaker can answer this because this is kind of integrated approach. So first question is, what is the role of the donors for having project sustainability? So in Indonesia, for example, we have solar street lighting in the whole Indonesia that is now in broken condition. But then when we approach donors, the donors say that, oh, we only provide funding and attending the ceremony. And then that's all. And then after that, when the solar PV are in broken condition, they just say that, oh, okay, set up another project. They don't really pay attention on how to make it sustain from the beginning. So that is the donor approach. When I talk with the donor, that is mostly their response. And then the second question is, in Indonesia, the problem is government has conducted a procurement process to revitalization of the solar street lighting. However, the government complained that there is none of the company is willing to revitalize the solar street lighting. So government already make announcement to revitalize the solar street lighting, but not many companies participate in the government procurement. So the question is, what would you recommend to encourage the private sector or the company to support government to do the solar PV revitalization? And then the third question is about the coordination. You know, usually the solar PV is conducted from the central government. So it is like in the capital country, like in Jakarta. And then it is hand over to the local government. So the local government need to be responsible for the procurement, installation, and the maintenance. But then the local government doesn't have any capacity or lack of skill or how to do the procurement and installation. So maybe Mr. Kanaka has known that. And then, so how is a better incentive, whether it is to the local government, company, or to end user for having energy transition from the conventional energy like kerosene lamp to LED lightings, for example. So to whom is a better address the incentive to have energy transition? So those are the three questions that maybe you can answer.
Yeah.
Thank you, Eva. I think I will take my dig on the third questions, Eva.
Okay.
If you don't mind. So basically, about the what you call the benefit should be given. I think we can learn a lot from Energiewende actually in Germany. I think that is one of the best energy transition program in the world. Basically, you cannot segment it. Energy transition to, oh, this is the customer, this is the producer, or this is the country. It needs to come as a full package actually. So what they did in there actually, they provide the financing, okay, for houses that needs solar PV installed by rooftop. They go there through KfW, and they go to like if it's similar in Indonesia, it's like a BPD, Bank Pembangunan Daerah, which you can ask for financing to install solar rooftop actually. It could be done within 2 or 3 days, and then they also create a standard, which is basically A++ or A+++ for the electronic appliances, that this is the lowest consuming environmental friendly appliance that needs to be used. If you use this, we can help you to buy these new things and exchange it for what you call for your old unfriendly to environmental appliances actually. So it needs to be done at the same time. Everything, the policy, the financing structure, the what you call the benefit to the community, the regulation, it needs to be done in a package, Mbak Eva. You cannot in transition. It is impossible to do any transition if you're still thinking segmented like that, Mbak Eva. So it needs effort from the community, from IPP, from the government. Everyone needs to be involved in that actually.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, but then if it is everyone's responsibility and nobody will be responsible, because then they will continue blame each other. Oh, this is the role of the government. Oh, no, the end user doesn't want to convert the energy. And then, yeah, so we must, I think we need to focus to whom that we need to, to approach first. And then that's become a trigger to the other stakeholders in order the energy transition can be moved forward.
Okay, so in answer to that, actually, in my opinion, the first one that you need to contact is Bappenas.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Bappenas will they will create the planning of that, and they will need help on creating that energy transition. It's not that they are lacking smart people over there, but they need someone experienced to guide them through this energy transition. Remember, Germany needs 20 years to succeed You cannot do this in 2 or 3 years. It needs multiple layers of stages planning, actually. That's the first one. And after that, you can go to BKPM to investor to invest in this energy transition, Mbak Eva. And then the third one, you need to go to the coordinating ministry, actually. In the coordinating ministry, you need to create a working group for this energy transition. You cannot, if you don't do that, then it will just another meeting. Okay, we want to do energy transition, and after that, okay, bye, thank you for the info. You need to create a working group. You need to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean not you. I mean us in general, actually. If not, then it will be segmented. This is PLN's fault. This is the government's fault. This is the public works fault. It needs to be. We need to bring everyone together, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's clear. So how about the company doesn't want to support government to do the revitalization of the solar street lighting?
There are some, and those companies talking to us actually for support, actually. And I've met with several municipality, regency government. They want to do that, actually, Mbak Eva. Okay, they want to do that, but once again, there are regulations, there are key benefit profits that here's probably this is a little bit blunt. I think this is blunt. So most of they call it ESCO, energy service provider in Indonesia, who's want to work on microgrid. I don't believe they do really care. If they do really care about this, they will combine their package, actually, their portfolio together, and comes into bigger financing. It will be much more easier. But everyone's taking their claim. This is my area. This is my area. This is my area.
Okay.
And who wants to finance 3 kilowatt project with an unknown company with no financial backup or something? No one wants to finance that. So I think one of the things that you need to create this portfolio, merge this portfolio into one, actually. And that's what we do, actually, in Africa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because what I heard from the company, what they said is, let the solar street lighting broken so that the government will buy again, will buy the solar street lighting and then install. And then so that the company will have the benefit, will have the profit, because the government keep buying from the company and not thinking about how to revitalize the broken solar street lighting. Is that right?
You're not talking to the right person, then, Mbak Eva.
Yeah, okay.
I can only say that you're not talking to the right person. I mean, that's the main difference. If you're working for a profit and you're working for a purpose, there's a huge difference. Yes, ENGIE is a multinational company, a very big company, but all of our action is based on making the world better, actually, Mbak Eva.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's easy. There are also multiple layers of approval in us, but there is a chance into that. There is a path for you to get financing from there. Also, I think, let's say from UNFCCC, you are a green finance specialist, green climate fund, also one of an access for funding. Yeah, but it cannot be just a one shot funding. You need to make a sustainability out of it, actually.
Okay.
If I might jump in,
Yes,
let me.
you can.
So in Kenya, we probably have 2 million solar home systems, and most of them are working. They were supplied by private companies to private consumers. We also have solar streetlights. Most of them are not working. They were supplied by in government contracts, and it's the same problem. They're very shoddy. They don't have. There's no standards. The government does them in procurements. We have to move away from the procurement approach. And I would say, if you look at streetlights, you know, why do people buy? If someone is buying a solar system for their house, this might be the biggest expense or the biggest cost that this family makes in a whole year. So they're going to spend a lot of time choosing the right supplier, and they're going to go to the best company. So we need to have competition. We need to have clear rules. But in public procurements, it's not very clear. So one opportunity you have is that these procurements should be done locally, because local people look up at the street light and see if it's working or not. So if the procurements are not done by a federal, but are done more locally, in my opinion, they're more likely to succeed, because the local people are going to ask for them to work. But public procurement is really not the way to drive the industry forward. I think you need to have private companies active in these sectors, and you really need good, and you need to let the private create conditions where private companies can thrive. And if you create the conditions for private companies to provide, the people and the communities will choose the best ones, and the best ones will succeed.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. So in other words, we need to focus for one particular approach in order it can be sustained. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Hankins?
Well, I'm not saying there's only one approach, but what I'm saying that the private sector, which provides, which responds to consumer demand, but creation of the private sector, and as much as possible getting government out of it, is really the way to develop the industry. In places where the government is making all the purchases, then things usually don't work.
But the government provide the policy and regulation to support the private sector to conduct the rural electrification.
Yes, exactly. They need to create the regulatory environment, but they need to stay out of the purchasing and the procurement. So when government gets involved in the procurement, that's when you begin to have problems. Do you get what I'm saying?
In Indonesia, is the other way around. Is almost 100% is solar PV conducted by government. And yeah, it is broken now, but then government responsible. I mean, they conduct the procurement process, but then the company just doesn't want to support the government in revitalization. That's what I heard.
Well, you're talking of streetlights, which is a specific niche, and government usually does the streetlights. What we're hearing from ENGIE is the solar home systems and the mini grids, which are done more on in East Africa on a more private basis. But when we talk of streetlight procurements, it's the same. You have the same problem in East Africa that you have in Indonesia. Government officials buying, you saw in my slide, they don't know what the right technology is. They just buy it, and so you need to have standards. So in the streetlights, it's a very simple technology. I mean, Sabot could come in here and he has some ideas here. But to me, in both East Africa and Indonesia, the whole problem of public procurement of streetlights, the problem isn't the technology. The problem is the people who are responsible for buying the equipment aren't buying. They're not interested in solving the problem.
Yeah, so Mark, thank you. I mean, and thank you everyone. I've learned a lot. Let me try to give a general view of my thinking on all of these issues. I think when I look at a scheme or a project, I look at four things: the technology, the finance, the social, and institutional. I think as Mark has shown us on technology, we have come very far compared to where we were when we were young. Technology is there, except that Mark has pointed out rightly the issues of peak load and so on, right? So we have those issues. And I think, in general, Indonesia is very far ahead of East Africa in many things. Let me say it very bluntly because I worked in both. But still, we need to be a little bit careful on the technology side, as Mark has pointed out. Even in Indonesia, we have to be quite careful. And we don't need to be purists. As Mark said, you need to have a little diesel backup. And yes, I said yesterday that for me, diesel is the option for a battery. Instead of storing power in the battery, you store the energy in the diesel, right? The digital genset is just a way of, because the other way is to have a very big solar system with a very big battery, then you won't have the peak problem. We don't want to do that because it drives up the cost. So you want to buy a diesel generator. But basically, so the technology is pretty much done and we don't have an issue. Where this street lighting is coming is in my institutional. The clear responsibilities aren't there. Indonesia is a very complex place. Things have worked very well in Bangladesh. The Solar Home Systems project is the largest in the world. There are 5 million households. That's because the agency running it is top class, IDCOL. It's called IDCOL. IDCOL is just top class. You go there and you are bowled over. You say, oh my God. Because we had a design in which we asked them to do a sample survey to see that all the home systems have been properly installed. And I asked them a simple question: how do you find out what the sample is? And they just laughed at me. They said, sir, we check everyone. We don't do samples. We check everything. So I said, okay, that's why it works, right? Because they check everything. They're very good. Okay. They say, no. Sample is in your design, but we don't do samples. We check everything. That's why it works. So you need, the institutional is missing in your street lights. Who is going to operate it? Who's going to maintain it? What is their strength? So look at the institutional. In general, the capacity in Indonesia is much higher than you find in Africa. There's no question about it. But you need to be very clear as to giving the responsibility with some penalties associated with it, penalties and incentives, carrots and sticks. Who's going to have the institutional responsibility? Now on social, there isn't much to discuss. It's all fine, except, some donor will come along and ask a question. Are you taking full care that women benefit equally? So please be aware of that question. When you talk to donors, they always ask this question. Are you making sure that the women will benefit equally? Just say the answer is yes, because I have talked to hundreds of women across, and they say, what are you asking? We have TV, we have lights. How is it not benefiting me? Are you crazy? I can watch TV, I can have lights. I mean, what's the question? So I say, well, I don't know, but the donors want to ask that question. So please be ready to talk about that social issue. Otherwise, I think, in the old days, people used to think that people don't want solar power because it's not 220 volt or it's 12 volt DC. They think that I can class it as all that is gone. So social is fine. The financing, I think we need to be very clear. Mark has also pointed out very clearly that we don't have a financial model for Indonesia. The remaining, I think electricity access in Indonesia is now 98%, something like that. We are looking at the last 2%. So how are we going to do that? That, in every other country, the last 5% is a heavy subsidy model. Right? And Indonesia needs to wake up to that this is going to be a heavy subsidy model. You cannot leave those people out. Long back, I had gone to a remote village in Indonesia and I talked to the school teacher and I said, listen, you'll get all this electricity and your kids will be watching TV and you think they'll be watching, say World Cup soccer, but they'll be watching some other things which you might not want them to be watching, like soap operas or something else. And he said, no, you don't worry about it. Here we know how to handle our kids. Just get me the TV. By handling the kid, I assume he meant, things that we may not discuss in public openly. But you need to be careful of that, of the financial model. We need to understand that, look, this is the last 2% of Indonesia. They are living in the Stone Age. We cannot have it. Okay. And so we need in the what you're talking about, the financial and regulatory system at the highest level, Indonesia needs to make a determination that we cannot leave these people out. Africa is very different. You go to Nigeria, 40% of the people have electricity. What are we going to? We cannot declare that the 60% should be fully subsidized or heavily subsidized. Uganda is even lower than 40%. I think it's still only 30%. But in Indonesia, you have to look at what China did. China just took the last 3, 4, 5% and said, we're just going to do solar systems. And we are not going to worry about the finances because we are going to collect the money from the taxpayers. It's going to come out of the general budget. Now, that's one approach. But just because you have the money doesn't mean you ignore the other issues, the technical, social, and institutional. You need to tackle all four, right? The financial, the technical, the social, and the institutional. Only then will your project be successful. Just because you have the money, it doesn't mean it will work. You put up the street lights and they don't work, as Mark pointed out. Okay. So the term I use is we need a facilitative framework. We're talking about rules, regulations, but we need a facilitative framework to connect the last 2% within 3 or 4, 5 years. We can't sit here and talk about long-term development and hoping things will come. The SDG target is by 2030. Indonesia needs to beat it. We can't just wait till 2030 because the kids grow up. And the kids cannot compete with you who's sitting in Jakarta and your children who are studying with the lights and so on. These people are living in some stone age in some faraway place. They don't know anything. Without cell phones, I mean, these days you can't live without a cell phone. I mean, you lose your cell phone, you've lost your life, right? I mean, it's gone. Somebody steals your cell phone, you're dead, okay? I mean, not mine because I don't use it that much, but I know, you go to the slums in Nairobi, people are paying 80 were paying 80 US cents to charge their phone, but they'll find a way. So we need to be very clear at a social level in Indonesia that this is a job that has to be done by funds coming from whether it's Bapenas or it's the ministry, whatever, money is not going to be an issue in Indonesia. It's not a poor country. Indonesia is a middle income country now by the World Bank. It's not a poor country. It's not like what we were in 1995 when I first came to Indonesia. Indonesia is very different now. So you have the money, channel it in ways that are technically right. And Mark has pointed out all the flaws that come when technology is not properly done. And institutional, that I think is the biggest weakness I see in Indonesia, is the institutional part. Who is going to be responsible? Who is going to do it? How is it going to happen? You can't just say, okay, we know how to do this technology from, as Pa Ahmed said, from Gajah Mada University, but we live in Jakarta and then PLN maintains our system. That's fine for a demo, but you need, and Indonesia has local people, they're qualified. It's not like they are not qualified people to run these systems. So I would say that it's the design that matters. How are you going to pull all of these forces together to get it done? That's, in my opinion, that is really the job. And if you have the expertise of some people who have worked in Asia and Africa to help you design it, I think that would do a very important job, to give you an outsider's view and say, listen, this is how we put it together. Because you have the suppliers like NG. Okay, NG is a supplier. They cannot do anything but supply. And then that's a great, what they're supplying is reliable technology. So they're helping you solve the purely technical part of the problem. But then the design is up to you. They are not going to design it, right? The design is up to you. So all the issues that Mr. Hankins mentioned in the design, they have to be taken care of. And you have to have somebody with solar expertise who can come to your place and look at each different community and then design the system. You cannot have one system designed by Bapenas in Jakarta. This is not going to work. This is what we used to think in 1995, because we did not have the guts to do different things in different places, right? I didn't have the guts. People ask me, Subodh, why are you against small systems? I said, listen, I don't have the guts to have 3, 4, 5 types of systems because people may be scared. You know, they may sell it's a large system, but they sell them a small system. Those days are gone, right? Today we are quite capable, quite confident, but we cannot be too centralized. You need to be localized. You need to work with the local institutions. You need to give them, the only thing that should come from the center is the money. The money. The money is, you know, with the Jakarta government, Bappenas, whatever, but everything else has to be local. That, sorry for taking so long, but that's just, I thought I should share my opinion.
Okay, I get the point. So I'm especially asking about the institutional issue, like what we have discussed yesterday about PLN and private sector. So when private sector already would like to have the area to be electrified by their own design and their own money, and then the PLN suddenly say, oh, this is our area, and the private sector cannot come in to that. So how to better solve that kind of institutional problem then?
What we are doing in Africa, in East Africa and West Africa is that, and even in India, the regulator has put out some rules that you have to build the grid, mini grid, according to PLN specifications. Okay, so you build the mini grid, but you build it to PLN specifications, right? So that when the time comes, PLN can come there and take the grid, right? But they have to pay for it. How will they pay for it? That is a very difficult and technical question. So now nobody will put up a mini grid or a micro grid or whatever you want to call it if PLN is going to come in the next 2 years. Nobody will do it. Okay? They will only do it where the PLN won't come for 5 to 6 or 7 years because they hope to make, if not profit, they need to at least get their money back in 5 or 6 years. After that, whatever PLN pays for the assets, the distribution assets. Solar panels you sell in the market. The diesel generator you sell in the market. But the wires and the fuses or transformers or whatever else the distribution assets are, those you cannot sell because PLN needs those, right? So PLN takes over the distribution assets and the private company sells the solar and the diesel in the market. So then essentially what you are telling PLN is that we are pre-building your grid. We are building your grid before you build it. We have the grid ready for you to come and connect to. So those technical, you cannot build a substandard grid. You have to build it to meet 220 volt grid specification, the grid code of PLN, right? That will be in the regulatory framework that it is going to meet PLN grid standards and also the same parts. Okay, they can say you can't use a different transformer than I use because then I have to repair that transformer, not this transformer. Do you see what I'm saying, right? So you need to have that in the rules and regulations that is the same standards as PLN, and so that when PLN says I'm coming here after 5 years, fine, they come and they connect and it's their grid, right? They can run it, they can operate it, they understand it. So private grid operator, please hire retired PLN people to help you build it so that they can say, yes, it'll meet PLN standards. And in Indonesia, there is no problem in finding retired senior people from PLN who can do it, right? So you build the grid like that. The real question is, how will you pay for the wires and transformers and poles and so on? For that, you have to have some rules. It's a problem that Myanmar is also facing because they have the capacity to build the mini grids. They built many in the times of the military rule, and now they want to build more because power company is not yet able to come. It's a very tough issue. I'm not saying I have the answer. I don't know the answer. I wrote a paper on it. But the paper said, I don't know the answer, so I don't want you to read the paper. It's a very complicated and technical paper, but in the end, it said, I don't know the answer. Simple answer is wrong, but I don't know what's the right answer. Okay. So you will have to find some way to do that. But basically, the legal conflict, I don't know how to resolve. That has to be decided by some court, or it has to be decided at the minister's, excuse me, at the minister's level. The technical answer or the practical answer is that yes, PLN, whenever you come, you can take it over, right? And you'll be able to run it because it's like, okay, you just plug the wire. Okay, PLN comes, here's the mini grid, you plug it. I'm talking like a layman, right? Not like a technical person, but that interconnection is possible, right? And then it's yours, and you pay me for it at that time. How much you will pay me for it, that is a tough issue. And if you don't solve that issue, you will never get anywhere. You have to solve that issue. Now, in Africa, quite a bit of the mini grids are being built without that issue being fully tested, because even if you write the rule, how do you know that the power company will actually pay that amount? It says so in the rule, but if they don't pay, what are you going to do, right? We don't know. There's no case yet. But many of them are subsidized in some way by European donors and so on. So they think, fine, we won't lose any money. Let's get it. But in Indonesia, it's going to be different. So that's the only thing I would warn you about, that you haven't thought through the financial system at all. We are focused so much on technology, but as I said, there are four things: finance, technology, social, and institutional. And you need to think of the entire package. And then you can say which part of it is not working well here, or how will this work. Finance, I think there should be a national decision that the government of Indonesia will provide the money. Whether it's from a small surcharge on the PLN bill, or it's from the budget, or whatever, they will provide the money. That's what we are doing in every country. We put a very small surcharge. Even in the US, in our bills, we propose, let us say it is 10 US cents per kilowatt hour. There's a small surcharge, 0.001 cent per kilowatt hour. That gives you enough money because there are enough kilowatt hours, and you just subsidize the very poor who's 1 or 2%. Same thing in Indonesia, you're going after the last 2%. So you put a very small surcharge, collect the money. So this is the only way. If you want to get it done fast, the money problem, you are not a poor country anymore, right? So you do it. That's what I'm saying. All right, so now enough talk from me. Sorry.
Okay. Good point, Subodh. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Nadia, yeah.
Okay. So is there any more feedback, comment, or anything?
I think that's all.
I guess that's all because it's also almost the Friday prayers.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
midnight. It's midnight for me, and I don't know how early it is for Mark, poor chap. Thank you, Mark, for waking up so early. I'm awake till midnight, which is, well, it's not too bad. Midnight is okay. Still not yet crossed midnight, so I'm happy. Otherwise, I charge you for one more day.
Government will pay, don't worry.
No, Angie will pay. I'll charge
Angie will
a lot
pay.
of money.
Angie can just get the money from Amazon, right? Congratulations for that.
I heard Angie has a lot of money, so they can pay me for the extra day if we go past midnight, right, Panaka? You have a lot of money. Okay, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. So
And
yeah, we
Mark, good to see
centrally
you. Great to see you.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Good to
yeah.
see you too.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Okay,
much for the
bye-bye.
Thank you.
super
Thank you.
discussion.
Thank you
Stay
so
safe and
much,
healthy, everyone.
everyone.
Bye.
Have a
Ciao.
nice weekend.
Have a nice
Bye-bye.
weekend. Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.